The cosmic narrative of God taking a stand against Satan is a cornerstone of Abrahamic faiths, framing human existence as a pivotal battle in a spiritual war. Yet when we scrutinize this story against the stated attributes of God, omnipotence, omniscience, and being the sole creator of all that exists, we are confronted with deep and unsettling contradictions that challenge the very logic of the divine plan. According to Scripture, God is the unrivaled architect of reality. He crafted the vast expanse of the universe, from the grandest galaxy to the minuscule atoms, and developed the laws for their sustainment. Within this creation, He brought into being all forms of life, including humans and jinn. Among these, jinn was the being who would become Satan. This is the first and most critical point. Satan is not a peer or a rival co-eternal with God. He is a creation, a finite being whose very existence, nature, and capacity for action are entirely dependent on the will and permission of the Creator. This foundational truth makes the ensuing cosmic struggle logically perplexing. If God is truly all-powerful, why would He need to oppose Satan? The concept of opposition implies a challenge, a force that must be countered. But for an omnipotent being, a created entity like Satan poses no more a threat than a single specific grain of sand opposes the entire beach. God, by definition, could withdraw the gift of existence from Satan in an instant, ending the war before it even began. The very fact that this opposition is allowed to persist raises the initial, crucial question. Why create an adversary only to then fight a battle you designed and can end at any moment? The contradiction deepens dramatically when we examine the purported outcomes of this divine drama. Both the Bible and the Quran deliver a sobering and even grim prospects for humanity. The Bible, in verses like C, speaks of the narrow gate that only a few will find, while the wide gate leads many to destruction. Similarly, Luke 13:23-24 and Matthew 22:14 reinforce this theme of a chosen few. The Quran echoes this sentiment, stating in Surah Al-A'raf 7:179 that God has created many people for hell, and in Surah As-Sajda 32:13 that if God had willed, He could have guided all, but now hell will be filled with jinn and humanity. Passages like Surah Hud 11:119 suggest that this mercy and guidance are reserved for a select few. This collective testimony from both scriptures points to a single, stark conclusion. The vast majority of human souls are ultimately destined for damnation. Herein lies the ultimate paradox of Satan's role. If his divinely permitted function is to misguide and tempt humanity, and the scriptural data shows he is overwhelmingly successful, then by the narrative's own logic, Satan is winning. He is fulfilling the function for which he was created and allowed to operate with spectacular efficiency. This forces us to confront the most unsettling question of all. Is Satan truly the rebellious enemy, or is he, in fact, an unwitting but precise instrument of a divine will? If God is all-knowing, He knew from the moment of creation exactly which souls would be led astray and suffer eternally. If He is all-powerful, He could have architected a different system, one without such immense suffering, or one where grace and guidance were more universally effective. Instead, He created a reality where a being He fashioned is tasked with leading the majority of His other creations to a fate of eternal fire. Therefore, the story, when stripped of its familiar theological framing, begins to look less like a classic battle of good versus evil, and more like a meticulously scripted paradoxical drama. It is a play authored, staged, and directed by a single omnipotent being, who also casts himself in the role of the hero, opposing an antagonist whose every line and action he himself wrote. This brings us to the final, touching contradiction that rests on every believer. God demands that humans take a stand against the very adversary that He, with all His infinite power, has chosen not to eliminate. We are asked to fight a battle against a foe that the Supreme Commander could dismiss with a thought. We are told to resist a temptation that is allowed to exist by the same will that commands our resistance. The entire cosmic story of God, heaven, and hell hinges on the existence of Satan. Without him, the plot falls apart. Eliminate Satan, and the foundational conflict behind creation, judgment, and the afterlife simply collapses. The cosmic drama requires a villain, Without Satan, there is no conflict, no test, and ultimately no story to tell about heaven and hell. In this light, the cosmic struggle seems not a test of our loyalty, but a profound and perplexing question mark over the nature of the divine plan itself, in which Satan is not an adversary, but a vital instrument.